Yo, Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Yeah. My listeners. Picture this. Derek is having a very, very restless night, which is rather unusual for him. You see, he's tossing and turning and tossing. Derek's dripping in sweat, even with the AC on full blast. And dang nabbit, he's moist. Particularly in his loins. Actually, y'all, Derek doesn't want to catch any Z's. He don't want to catch any Z's because he's all wrapped up in the fire and desire. Derek muses, dang, I know just what can give me relief. I really need a big boy, a bear. Then all of a sudden, a welcome individual appears out of nowhere, like poof, just like a freaking genie. And he's naked, y'all. We're talking butt naked. And our man Derek is mesmerized, paralyzed, in fact. Now, that's because this genie guy is thick, broad, hefty, chunky, swole, a hairy bear, in fact. And his piercing black eyes connect with the totally dumbfounded Derek. Next, genie guy gestures to himself from the top of his head to his blocked toes, and then with a deliciously nasty twinkle in his eyes and a sly grin, he utters the following. Yo, they call me Mr. Bear, and I'm on the prowl. So, Derek, do you want to get all caught up in all of this beefiness and thickness that's just right here, just waiting for you? Well, y'all, look. Derek flashes this nervous grin. He's thinking, what the F? Genie guy continues, hey, let me snuggle and cuddle up with you. I can hold you tight. And just ever so right. Needless to say, Derek's mouth is on the floor, y'all, and he's thinking about what he wants to do with that mouth. You know what I'm saying? You feeling me? So, with so much swagger, Mr. Bear sashays right up to our man Derek. And like lickety split, Derek is all caught up in the exquisiteness, the rapturous heat of all of that beefiness and thickness. Yeah, baby. My listeners, this is part 3 of our continuing series titled Let a Big Boy Keep You Warm. All about the bear and the big boy communities. And today's special guest is Mr. Don Chooi, an acclaimed and wildly popular creator of gay bear art whose personal journey is both poignant and profound. And I'm going to shoot the breeze with him in just a few. And after the show, visit my online home, WyattEvans.com. That's WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. And WyattEvans.com is visited by over 100 countries on the regular, and I'm proud of that, so I can say, yeah, baby. At WyattEvans.com, you will find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And y'all, the current installment is titled Frenzy! Yes, Frenzy. Frenzy is chock full of masculine romance, intrigue, danger, and the blazing heat of 1,000 million zillion suns of erotic passion and steaming nastiness. And I'm writing the sequel. Oh, yes. More details to come. A program note. My cray-cray sometime sidekick, Madam Pussy Galore, cock-a-doodle-doo, the drag queen supreme, is taking the day off. So, you ready for today's show? Having conceptualized and written a line of comic books when I was just a little nipper, I'm certainly jazzed. Well, my listeners, our very special guest, Mr. Don Chooi, is a creator of gay bear art who has an enthusiastic and rapidly growing fan base, particularly on social media. His D. Chooi Doodles brand depicts the bigger, more hirsute bear figures. And inspired by prominent artists of this genre, his bear art speaks of the male confidence, masculinity, and sexual appeal of gay SGL, same gender loving men. Oh, hell yeah. Now, my listeners, let me tell you something. This gentleman has also written, illustrated, and produced an 80-page graphic novel that speaks of Asian family values and dual identities, and he has contributed art and design to a variety of international publications and art galleries. And while his artistic work still largely portrays the erotic gay bear, he seeks to find the intersections of queer and marginalized cultural identities. Impressive stuff, y'all. So, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Don Chooi. Talk at me. How the hell are ya?
Hello there, Wyatt. Hello there, listeners. How's everyone doing today?
Well, I tell you, I am doing great. Listen, Don, I'm really glad to have you on the show. And before I really get into our conversation, I want to give a special shout out to Mr. James Butler, who connected us. And as we all know, JB is the creator, founder of the Bears Network and the BigBoi Project, and he's an affable and accommodating guy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, go James.
Okay, James, listen, I'm going to charge you for my PR, okay? I just want you to know that.
Yeah, he deserves it.
That's right. Okay. Anyhow, Don, would you please tell our listeners exactly what the Bear Big Boy community is and what it represents?
Hey, look, before we get into that, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored and privileged to be on here. So, yeah, what does it mean to me? For me, I come from a very different take to what big body image is for me, because I wrap it up with a lot of cultural ethnicity issues with it as well. And it all comes down to my personal experience, my lived experience, and and how I interpret the world through this lens of mine. And so for me, it there's this level of sensitivity to it as well. There's a lot of conversations happening around, and I thought, I'll just want to be part of that conversation. I just want to add my voice to it as well.
Smart guy. You know what? When I first saw your picture, I said, he's a smart guy.
You're making me blush.
Well, good. Okay, my friend. Are you ready to traipse down memory lane, just travel through the corridors of time?
Oh my gosh, this is going to turn out to a therapy session. Oh yeah, all right, let's go.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know that. Okay, now let's start out with this. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Malaysia, but way back in 1973. And I grew up in a very traditional conservative family. And you got to understand, back in the 70s, the Vietnam War was just at the border, and everything was very, tumultuous. The communist forces were running rampant through the country. And, you grow up very, very careful. There's a sense of, you got to be very careful. And I knew from a very, very early age I was different. And I went to a Methodist school. You got to understand, Malaysia's predominantly Muslim. And so there was all this intersections of religion and faiths. Because the three major players, cultural players in Malaysia is the Malays, the Chinese, and the Indians. And growing up then, I grew up in the countryside, very rural, didn't have much for anything. Dad worked in the paddy fields, and again, it took a lot of effort to put us through education, and Dad was really, really into that. And he says, you got to have good education, and that's where you make a mark in somewhere. And all that time, here I was being this little Asian dude, going, I'm feeling very differently. And even back then, I knew not to say a word about it. I knew that I got to hide it. So all that, the experience of not revealing the truth about myself went from a tender age through my formative years. And I got to be very, very honest with you, Wyatt. I grew up to be a very good liar. I grew up to be very, very good liar. And I'll be very, again, I don't know if this would be a smart thing for me to say, but I'm now close to 48 years old, and I still haven't come out to my parents. And I moved to New Zealand in 96 and to continue my studies. One thing was that I thought to myself, well, I'm escaping that past and coming to a much more liberal-minded society. So I threw myself into the experience, the gay experience, being here. But back then, New Zealand also had its challenges and problems as well. But compared to where I came from, gosh, it was such a different world. So that's when I open up my eyes to all the wonders, the wonders of gay identity. You got the bears, you got the leathers, you got the muscle Marys, you got all the twinks, you got that whole world and all that publication. And you know what was the one publication that stood out in my mind was Tom of Finland. Tom of Finland.
Right.
Yeah. So that was going. Yeah. So so when you ask me that sort of a question, where do I come from? I got what? How long do you have? I can tell you some stories. I can tell you some stories.
Oh well, I'm definitely going to have you back later in the year or the first of next year, Mr. Chooi. Okay, Thank you for that. That was really insightful, Don. I always like to ask my guests the following question,
Oh yeah.
which is this one. Just what was Don like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us, yeah, give us three characteristics, qualities that
Three qualities,
best
eh?
described you back in the day.
Back then there was no such terms as no recognition for terms as introvertedness. There's no terms to label us as much. Saying, "Oh, you're this." I've always been a very quiet boy. Quiet boy. I've always been the one who's in the sidelines, just listening to other people's, eavesdropping to other people's conversation. So I'll give you that. I'm very quiet. Second one is that I like to laugh a lot, and through much therapy, I've discovered it's a defense mechanism. So I like to laugh and I like to poke fun at myself because, I thought that I'll just, I'll start the joke with me. I'll start a joke with me. I'll belittle myself in hopes that, I'll get other people to laugh with me or at me. So that's the other. And the third and final one, I'd say there's a lot of schemes in my head. I'm a schemer.
Oh, you're a schemer.
I'm a schemer. I think, having to growing up, I've got two other siblings, but I do come from a large family. All my extended family, all my cousins and uncles and aunties. And to get some time for myself, I gotta be scheming to get away from the family unit, just be by myself and spend time on my own and, just be in my world. And so that'll be the three qualities that I've got.
Interesting. Nice. Well, you know what? I can relate to the whole self-deprecating thing because when I was in my formative years, I had some really serious self-esteem issues. Thankfully, I'm a strong proponent for therapy because therapy saved my life and made me into the self-assured person that I am today. But back in the day when I was a kid, up until probably high school or so, yeah, I would make jokes about myself to try to fit in and do all this self-deprecating stuff. So I totally get where you're coming from. I really do.
It's not a surprise to hear that the majority of us grow up, poking fun at ourselves willingly,
Right.
because we want to fit in, because we don't want to be seen as the outsider, and we go, "Hey, look, if I make fun of myself, I'm part of you. Look, I'm part of you." You know what I mean? It's not a surprise. Yeah, but thank you for sharing that, Wyatt. Thank you.
Well, I'm a sharing kind of guy. But anyway, let me ask you, how old were you when you first realized that you had the spark, the talent to illustrate and paint? And exactly, Don, what created that spark?
Right. I'll answer the latter first, as in how that came about. I've always been fascinated with drawing, and I've always been interested in telling stories, and I've got all these ideas in my head, even at a very young age, and I just want to, and I'll draw my own scenario of the world that I want to create, be it whether it's from imagination, and that will lead into an erotic path later on down the track when I hit puberty, but I wanted to draw because my parents couldn't buy me comics or buy me magazines, and I'll pick somebody else's books and I'll, read up on it, and then I'll come home and I'll create these worlds myself. and discovering, knowing how to draw, I think it was as soon as I was able to hold a pencil, and I was like scribbling away and drawing away, and there's a love for it. There's a love for me when it connects, when that pencil connects to that paper, and and the line just forms, and I just love that process. But I grew up again in a very conventional, traditional household, and my grandparents was a very prominent presence in that household, and grandpa was a stickler for discipline, and I was automatically a left-handed boy, and there was a lot of discipline happening to make sure that I corrected my hand and to switch from the left to the right. And it took a few years of constant discipline. And I don't want to put my family in a very bad light, but back at that time, there was the ruler, that wooden ladle that taps on your hand and go, nope, switch to the other hand, So, but somehow automatically I'll just resort back to the left hand. I'm such a rebel. I'm such a rebel. And
I get it. It was a ruler for you. For me, it was a switch, because when I if I misbehaved, my mother would say, well, we had a big backyard, go to the backyard and find yourself a switch.
Ooh, at least you got a choice there. Asian families, you get what you're given. There ain't no choice. There ain't no choice.
But see, in a way, it's worse because it's psychological, because you are participating in your own ass whooping.
Oh yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Now we're older and we can laugh about it. Now we can look back about it and go, oh, those silly times. After much therapy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That was a big chunk of my therapy. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's fast forward to 1996, and I believe, Todd, you moved to New Zealand from Malaysia for your studies, and it was then that you began to find yourself through homoerotic art, paying focus on the gay bear subculture. Before you get into that, what were your studies?
I was doing graphic design. Okay. So the program that I signed on at university back in Malaysia had a twinning program, which your finishing year you had to go to a foreign institution, and New Zealand was on the cards because Dad was a student many years back in New Zealand studying agriculture, and he said, "Look, it's a quiet place, but it'll be great for you because you won't have any distractions." And you'll be able to do well. Well, little did he know, I came over here and then came in 96. I was really distracted. There was the D's. There was the D's. there was the nightclubs. Oh, I'll tell you that. Oh. So there was an eye-opening moment. I hate to say this on air, but
please.
I did my best. I did my best in academic success. I did my best for my education. Did my parents proud. I worked really, really hard, but equally, I told you I was a schemer. In the back end, I was going, if I spend 8 hours studying today, I can let loose for 6 hours tonight. If I just hold on to these few cents that I've got, then I make it a big night out on the weekends, all that scheming. And then I'll go out and I'll discover this world. And luckily I had really good friends who took me under their wing, protected me from the worst scenarios, and guided me. And I was very appreciative of that. And then I was introduced to all these subcultures, which I didn't know anything about. and
Uh-huh.
and the bears stood out to me because even back then, um, New Zealand has an underbelly of its dark side, which
Really?
is of racial tension.
Oh.
There was this, as liberal as it sounds today,
Mm-hmm,
back then
mm-hmm.
was more pronounced. And I didn't know, because I came from a multicultural society. So I was
Right.
quite oblivious to any sort of overt display of racist attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of opened my eyes up. And, a lot of people now saying in the apps, especially in the apps, hookup apps, saying that no fats, femmes, and
Right.
Asians. It's physicalized back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it
Mm-hmm.
opened my eyes up. Even though we say that we are one united front, but within that faction, we're so fractured, and yeah, but coming back to the bears, it attracted me because the bears was very friendly and very welcoming, and that was very different to what I experienced with the other groups. And and the bears were all going, you are who you are, and you eat what you like. And me and food, I'm going, yeah, that's something I can sign up to.
So in other words, you had a dual education.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was a dual education. Well, how precisely did you begin to find yourself through homoerotic art?
I mentioned Tom of Finland, and
Right.
the internet back in the late 90s was just becoming prominent. And that was when I signed up to, I don't know if you remember this. My God, I'm really showing my age. IRC rooms. Do you know Internet Relay Chat? I was I was connecting to people and communities through IRC, and I drew, because I was drawing my own scenario. I was drawing people I looked, when I went out, I got inspired, and I'll come back and put it on paper, and I'll draw the likeness on that paper, and then I'll get my hand on the scanner, and I'll scan it in, and I'll share it to this group of friends I formed in IRC, and I got they're the ones who said, "Hey, look, do you want to?" And they start giving me jobs. They started giving me opportunities. They said, "Hey, look, we've got this bear event going on. Can you draw it for us? Can you contribute art for it?" And that's where I really got into it. And then the more encouragement and participation I had, I just got more and more involved, and deeper into the rabbit hole I went, Alice.
And you really enjoyed going deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole.
There's an euphemism there, and I live for it.
You are incorrigible. I like it, though. I like it.
Thanks. Yeah. So,
man. Okay.
I mean, like, adding on to that, I mean, for me back then, the bears seemed very confident in their own ways.
Right.
They're very confident they're not very hung up with, going to the gym. Like, I'm really into that. I really don't like the gym. Go out and having a good time. And they seem to be such sexual creatures as well. Very liberated. And, they don't really have this. I'm trying to put it into words where I can be not oversell it, but I'm just saying, for them, there's no reason not to have sex because it's fun.
Right.
There's no hang-ups to it. And you go, I like this group. I like this freedom. But there was a downside to it, but I'm sure I'll swing by and pick up back on this conversation again.
Okay. Very good points. Let's segue back to the whole racial ethnic component. Now, please, Don, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm,
I believe that the larger bear community is predominantly white.
mm.
Um, if that is the case, as a bear of color, just how welcoming do you find, white bears?
Well, this is a very loaded territory, sort of
Oh,
conversations.
uh-huh.
I I gotta say that this is my disclaimer. I'm
Sure.
only saying all this based on my lived experience, and
Right.
my lived experience is uniquely my own and not necessarily echoes an entire uh, community.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find there's a imbalance of representation of colored bodies in the bear community.
Ah,
Um, I have been in a few cases, when I talk about racist attitudes and stuff, and it's much more, it's not as pronounced back then, but
mm-hmm.
I discovered that I've been into a few bear runs, and I've been into a few, um, like those groupings, and I gotta say, you walk in as a colored person, you immediately get a sense that you are on the outside. You immediately get a sense that you're the outsider looking in, and you're only privileged because it's awarded to you by the group of friends that you're with, who are
Now,
predominantly white. You know?
exactly what's a bear run for everyone?
Hmm. I
How would
Yeah. I mean, even in promotional materials, like all the promos and advertisements and stuff like that, you get that appeal. Um, and look, I get it. You're a ultimately, it's a business. Ultimately, it's for profit, right?
right?
You want to
Mm-hmm.
appeal to the most biggest demographic in order to turn the dollar. But otherwise, if you're talking about a community event, and you gotta have some, if not equal, representation
True.
of
Very true.
diversity, of inclusivity. If you're saying, if you walk into an event and it's all just white faces,
Right.
there's only two ways that I can deal with that situation as a colored person myself. One is, and it's a very bad thing, is that I pretend to be non-Asian myself.
Uh,
Like with my attitudes, with the way I talk, the way I present
right.
myself, I am totally having to go, oh yeah, all Asians are bad, blah blah blah. Or the second thing is come off as really arrogant because I am standing my ground, going, no, I'm proud Asians. I deserve to be here, and I've paid the same entrance fee. I deserve to be
Mm-hmm.
here. But you're right. There are still um, a majority of them still is a very white dominant crowd, and it's very
Mm,
difficult for a person of color who doesn't fit the body norms, who doesn't
right.
fit the way that you talk, the way that
Mm-hmm.
you look, the way that you come across, and it hurts to a point where you go, am I not sexually desirable?
Yeah.
Because you walk in there and nobody wants to even say hello to you because
Mm-hmm.
you're not somebody that like to shag. And
Right.
you go, what's that about? I just want to be friendly. I don't want to get in your pants. That sort of thing.
Listen, maybe not now, but I mean, come on. First of all, yeah, I get it. I tried to make a little joke there. It didn't play too well, but we'll move on. Listen, they all don't play well. So, but who
Don't
gives,
blame.
but listen, whatever.
Yeah, I know. This is
Yeah,
going YouTube. You gotta watch your mouth. This is going YouTube.
Anyway, Don, let's talk about New Zealand and American bear culture. What are the similarities and differences, you think?
I think similarities is that everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to belong to a tribe. Everybody wants to
Right.
belong to the bigger picture of brotherhood. We all want to be friendly. We do strive for camaraderie. We do strive to be liked and to like. And it yeah and we're very loud. We can be loud. The bear communities from both sides can be loud about our being who we are. We're proud of who we are, where we're from, and where we're going. And I think, but the difference is that um, we tend to be a little bit more reserved in portraying our sexual appeal. Americans to me, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. When we talk about sexuality and we talk about that appeal, mystique, right?
Right.
Americans have that in abundance, and you guys show it off. You guys unabashed. You take off your clothes, your shirts. I mean, your shirts. This is going YouTube after all. At dance parties, it's very easy to come by, and I think New Zealand counterparts, we tend to take a little longer to get there. To get comfortable with the situation, to get comfortable with the environment and the people that we're around us before we start, chucking our shirts off. And I think there's a sort of and I think there's also a hang up about the way that we feel we look to others. That's also another topic that my work kind of also touches about it as well. It's not just about the bigger body representation. It's about body image positivity in overall scheme. I think there's a lot of conversations still being had here in New Zealand about our own body representation. I think especially for colored bodies, we are still trying to find our confidence in going, this is my body, I own it, leave it, or take it or leave it. So that's the difference for me. I find that the Americans, you are not too shy about your own sexuality. You're more assured, whereas we are assured of our sexuality, but it just takes a little bit longer just to get that to that same level.
Well, I think that's charming.
Oh, shucks.
Yes, there you go.
We like to keep our mystery, our mystique.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay. Well, what are some misconceptions about bears? At times, Don, do they get a bad rap?
Oh, again, another loaded sort of a question. Bad rep. I'm just gonna reconfigure that sort of question, if you don't mind, Wyatt.
Oh, please.
And
sure.
I'm gonna talk about the bear community, internal workings of the bear community. I think with globalization, with access, to travel. This was before the pandemic struck a year and a half ago, and the borders closed down. I think we got an opportunity to get involved or be more aware with what bears are doing in every part of the world. I mean, we've got Thailand with Bear Bangkok. Their identity is really forming very well there. We've got Taiwan, we've got the Philippines. With all that aspect of the bear identity that we've never been that we've never known or known very little of, is suddenly there for everybody to witness and for everybody to experience.
Okay.
And then, so there's this conversation about what makes a bear a bear. So, we find that the Western perspective is saying that you're not a bear unless you're hairy, you got facial hair, you weigh more than 200 pounds, and wear plate. So you've got that mentality, and then you've got the other mentality. A bear is an attitude. So there's that conversation happening, trying to fight for that same space, and who appointed who the gatekeepers. Who appointed who's the gatekeepers, and I think, bear in a sense is still coming to terms with itself in a global scale. Bears is no longer just what it used to be a West Coast idea anymore. It's now everywhere, and I think there needs to be some evolution or some growing up to do in terms of this bear identity. So don't know if I answered your question correctly there, but hey.
No. Thank you, Don. I mean, you gave us great feedback and insight. So you did well, my brother.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Having said that, let's get back to YOU. Now, Mr. Chooi, you earned a master's degree in art design in 2017. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for that. Took a lot of hard work for that too. Being an adult student, having to go back to education. Woo, I'll tell you that. This brain is a little bit slower. It's a little bit slower.
well, listen, I'm older than you are, so I totally get it. I'm a little older than you are, so I totally get it. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. But look, I did it. First and foremost, I did that master's not because it wasn't a voluntary choice.
Okay.
Because it was because of my career options. I had to take it following my undergraduate degree back in '96 to keep my job, essentially, to keep me relevant in my job. So I had to do it. But I was very happy at the end to doing it. Now I've got a completely different mind. I was very hesitant and resistant to it in the first place. But going back to education, looking on topics with a jaded mind, being older has its perks. Brain may be working a little bit slower, but you kind of be a little bit more critical. You're able to look at things and critique it better. And you're able to look at it from different angles. And now I look back at the experience of obtaining that master's, and I think, I've done well, I think.
Listen, yes, you have.
Thanks.
Seriously, you have. I mean, I think I think it's awesome, and it shows your stock.
Well, I gotta look. At the end of the day, sorry for interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
But I gotta say that I have got to give credit to the people that helped me get there. First and foremost is my supervisor at the university I did my master's in. He truly believed in what I wanted to say. He truly supported all the decisions that I made, and he made sure that he provided me a safe environment to do what I did, because the outcome, it's a creative outcome. It's a graphic novel. It talks about my insecurities and vulnerabilities, and I said to you at the beginning of this interview, I still haven't come out to a lot of the folk that matter to me. And there's a reason for that. And this book outlined, that situation. And he guided me, mentored me, and I gotta say, kudos for him, because without him I would have been flailing and I would have been lost and drowned. The other person is my late life partner, Craig. Um, I was fortunate enough to have him with me while I've completed my master's.
Mhm.
So I did dedicate my master's to him in his memory. It was a shame that it's a crying shame that he passed at a very
No.
early age. And and he was one. And then the others is the friends and my work colleagues. That
Mhm.
you gotta your allies are there.
Right.
You gotta have your allies. You gotta have your allies. Yeah.
And you have to let them know how much you appreciate and love them as well.
Yeah.
You have to be able to express that.
That's true. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Don, for sharing that.
No
And
worries.
yeah. And my friend, you have been an art and design contributor for a variety of international publications and art galleries. Tell us about that. That's great.
Well, I'm a schemer. I like
Uh-oh.
to I'm a schemer.
Uh-oh.
I like to I think I find the thrill of shocking people.
Ah,
I love the thrill of shocking people.
okay.
So when I put across uh, artwork, let's just say for in the art world, I'm not a fine artist. I'm just a what I call a doodlist. That's my
Mhm.
my moniker. I like to doodle. But I gotta say, when you put across work that features colored bigger bodies, and it
Mhm.
has meaning, and it is there for a purpose. It's just not for the grand visualization, but there's a meaning behind it. It's fantastic when people react either in shock, going, "My
Mhm.
God, I can't believe you did that," or going, "My God, it's great that you did that." And I've had both equally. I've had both reactions equally. And I
Right.
like putting work out there that speaks of my truth, speaks of my authenticity in a
Mhm.
way that I can. It's through art. And then for the events and organizations and individuals who's approached me um, through all these years, the first group, and I don't know if he's gonna listen to this or not, but the first group is Philadelphia Bears, who gave me that first opportunity for their bear run way
Ah,
back. And the relationships that I formed through, it's all through word of mouth, because I've never actively promoted myself in the bear
really?
community. Everything was word of mouth, and I've been really grateful and so appreciative of the support that these people have given me.
That is amazing.
Yes. And I got to also give a shout out to Greg Edelman, who's in Phoenix, Arizona, and who's also a big through an online encounters with he's given me so much faith in
Mhm.
my work. And I gotta say, it really, these are the pillars of support for me, and I really appreciate them.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. As Mr. Spock from Star Trek would say, fascinating. Fascinating.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Let's drill down on your brand, Mr. Chooi. First
Yeah.
of all, tell us what it is, what it means, that sort of thing. And then let's talk about the 80-page graphic novel that you wrote, produced, and illustrated.
All right. My brand that I've worked on since way back in 2005 was a play in words of D True Doodles. Um, it just highlighted the fact that I've never taken myself seriously, especially not with the work that I produce, because I always thought, why would people be interested in all this work that I've drawn?
Mhm.
Why would it be? Why would it have so much interest? And people's been giving me feedback and commenting on it, and I feel really bolstered, and that moves me. And again, like I said, all those organizations and groups that have approached me has given me all these opportunities to express my work through their events. It's been fantastic. It's really, all the support has been fantastic, and that moves me along. So again, I've never taken myself too seriously. The Chooi Doodles, in one way or the other, pokes fun at myself. Again, that self-deprecation happens, but I'm now owning it. I'm now going to spin it in a positive way. I like to draw. I like to doodle. And you can, if you like it, great. If you don't, see ya. Bye, Felicia.
Well, look, I love it. I mean, I love your work. And James Butler, the Bear Network, did this exhaustive, in-depth profile on you, which was absolutely wonderful. And I said, I got to have this guy on my show.
You got to have all of us on your show. You're going to have two. Why don't you have a group interview?
You know what? Actually, in all seriousness, Don, that's coming very soon.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, that's really, that is coming very, very soon. That'll be my very first one. So yeah, see, you just ESP, my brother.
Oh yes,
just wonderful. Okay, well, let's drill down on that 80-page graphic novel. What is it about?
Oh, all right. So again, it tells of a story of a young Asian dude who's established a relationship with this character, and they are going to form a life together. They bought a house together. They've got their chosen family, their group of friends, and then all of a sudden the main fella's family calls him from Malaysia. And to say that dad's gone into the hospital with a serious complication, and you got to come back, and you got to come back and look after him. And then this is when we reveal, no spoilers, we reveal that there's a deep, dark secret that this fella hasn't told the family about this life that he's got, a very progressive, happy life that he's got, and there are reasons why he couldn't share that story with them, and so there's this family drama, but it plays on issues of now there are documentaries and movies about the Asian family unit, right? And it draws on those assumptions and stereotypes, of you got to be the good son. You gotta do things in a certain way, and you can't break tradition. So there's that. But it does touch on themes of chosen family, belonging, duality. Like we live dual lives, and and I hate to call this a autobiographical work, because as I said, I don't want to implicate my family, because I haven't come out to them yet. I don't want to implicate my family. So I kind of frame it as in like semi-autobiographical, inspired by real life events. So
I got it.
Yeah. So it is the original length of this graphic novel was running over 120 pages.
Wow.
And because it's self-published, I said I can't afford to publish 120 pages on my own. So I got to bring it back to a more manageable size, which is 80 pages. But it taught me a lot. I got to give kudos to all those comic creators. I don't know where you find not the passion, not the imagination, but the effort that goes into working what you love, sacrificing things along the way, having to work so much harder than most to get it off the ground on your own. I gotta say, gosh, I had to open my eyes, and that's why there's no follow-up. I haven't been able to produce a follow-up. I'm going, my gosh, I don't know if I want to put myself through that again.
Well, what's the title of the novel and where can we purchase it?
Well, it's called Homebound. And so if you and it's freely available on the internet now. Because yes, because I've decided I want to share the story, and I want to share it. So maybe there's some commercial application with another story, with another publication, a book I could be working on. But for now, Homebound is available on the internet. So you just Google Homebound, Don Chooi, and it'll take you to my university's research gateway, which you can freely access the book, the comic book, the graphic novel.
That's
as a PDF
wonderful.
form. And with a PDF format, yeah.
That is so cool. So, Mr. Chooi, what's on tap for the rest of 2021 for you?
With the fact that surviving the pandemic.
Right. Yes.
This is a public service announcement, guys. Wear your damn masks.
Yes. And God damn it, get your 2 jabs.
Yeah, God damn it, get your 2 jabs.
God damn it, what's wrong with you? Get the jabs.
So it's coming. It's August now. I think for the rest of the year, I have got a few shows coming up. One which is in September the 23rd. It's a local showing. I've just got a couple of pieces of paintings that I'll be putting through an exhibition in downtown Auckland City. It does have a bear theme, but it's very Asian oriented. I wanted to talk about the idealization or the idealized body form, or for Asian bodies.
Right. Oh, that's great, Don. Congratulations.
That hasn't happened yet. Still putting it together.
See, this puts more pressure on you by me telling you congratulations. This means you have to do it. Yes. And I'm going to keep up on you as well to make sure that you do it.
Oh, thank you, Wyatt. You're too kind to me. You're very kind.
No, I'm just a taskmaster. That's what I am.
Yeah. Yes, I'm gritting my teeth.
Good. Listen, don't break them, but grit them. Now,
yeah.
I'm playing with you. Anyway, how do us grown folk contact and connect with you, Don? Give us all of your social media.
All right, so I'm running on 3 social platforms at the moment. The primary one will be Facebook. So it is under the name D Chooi Doodles. I'm on the same D Chooi Doodles on Instagram and Twitter. So I've divided the 3 socials to not just featuring my work, but the Instagram features more behind the scenes kind of stuff. And then Twitter, it has a much more naked feeling about it. Stuff that I can't show on Facebook or Instagram, I move it to Twitter for that. So, yeah.
Would you do me a favor and spell out D Chooi Doodles for us? All
right. So it's DCHOOI DOODLES.
One more time.
It's DCHOOI DOODLES. D Chooi Doodles.
See, I'm just being your
I'm gonna have to pay you for my PR.
I know. I'm just trying to be your great PR guy.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Well, Mr. Don Chooi, thanks for visiting Wyatt, and you got to come back, man.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. Look, anytime you let me know, and I will make my appearance. Let the guests know that both of us are working in 2 separate time zones. And what's the time that you're in at the moment, Wyatt?
I am. This is like almost 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're 14 hours in the future.
I am. It is currently coming to 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday.
Oh my God, you're futuristic, aren't you?
And the future looks good. It looks bright.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com. Official hashtag is Wyatt on Air. If you want to be a guest on Wyatt or you just have comments, email me at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. You can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Facebook.com/Wyatt O'Brien Evans. On Twitter at Mr. Woe. MISTERWOE, and on Instagram at Mr. Wyatt O. That is MRWYATTO. And be sure to check out my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. The latest being Frenzy. I said Frenzy. And its predecessor, Rage. All at WyattEvans.com. So until next time, my listeners, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof.